Every year at homecoming, we honor one graduate of Jesuit High School who we think fulfills the mission statement of Jesuit High School, a man of competence, conscience, and compassion. This year we honored a man who lives in Houston and through his conscience responded to a need to help underprivileged students obtain a Jesuit education. He's one of the founders of the Cristo Rey Jesuit College Preparatory School of Houston. It is a school where there's hardly any tuition, and the students work 1 day out of 5 and come to the school the other 4 days, and so in their jobs they earn the salary to pay their tuition. And the Jesuits asked him to lead the effort to establish this school, and because he's also a man of tremendous competence, he was able to successfully, along with others, establish this school because he is motivated by compassion for others. It is my honor to present to you Mr. John E. O'Shea, Jr., the 2015 Jesuit High School Alumnus of the Year from the class of 1980. Mr. O'Shea.
Good morning, Blue Jays. I will say this is a very impressive looking group, but I do have to say at Cristo Rey, we're a co-ed school, so they're a lot prettier. About half of them are a lot prettier than what I'm looking at today, but very impressive school. Thank you all for welcoming me during homecoming week, and in the U.S. it's known as Pope Coming Week last week, so I think it was interesting that you had them both at the same time. Yesterday, Pope Francis left our country after 6 days. He had Mass for over 1 million people in Philadelphia. Now, I'm from Houston, as Father McGinn said, and Cardinal DiNardo, who's our Bishop of Galveston, Houston, told me a story about when Pope Francis was elected Pope. As he was walking up to accept the papacy, one of the cardinals shouted out, "Remember the poor." And Francis didn't have a name for himself as he walked up. So he remembered St. Francis of Assisi and his help with the poor. And so he chose the name of St. Francis. A lot of people think it could be Francis Xavier because of his Jesuit connection, but it was actually St. Francis of Assisi and his love for the poor. And I think the Pope also, what St. Francis is what he's known for, his slogan, is what Pope Francis lived, but his slogan is, preach the gospel every day, occasionally use words. And I think that's what a lot of Americans will say about Pope Francis. I became interested in education of the poor about 8 years ago. It's deplorable what happens in our country with those in the bottom quartile. Only 8% graduate from college. Now, as a Jesuit high school grad, where every single one of my classmates was expected to graduate from college, that's deplorable. And in 2007, the Jesuits were looking at bringing a high school, a college prep Jesuit high school for the poor to Houston, and we got involved. And through the efforts of the Jesuits, we opened in 2009. Our goal is to get 100% of our students into college. We've graduated 3 classes, and I'm proud to say 100% of our students who graduated, and that's from the lower socioeconomic group, 100% of our kids have gotten into school. And at Cristo Rey, if you can afford to go to Cristo Rey, you can't go to Cristo Rey. It's only for the poor. Our tuition is $2,000, but the average tuition paid by a family is $25 a month. So we service only the poor. And I think one story I'd like to tell you is the first year we opened in 2009, 2010, we had a freshman retreat. And we had there's Strake Jesuit, which you guys know from playing them. But Strake Jesuit, and then there's a St. Agnes school, which is a Dominican high school. The seniors from Jesuits and Dominican gave the freshman retreat for our Cristo Rey kids. And at the end, they had open mic, and these Jesuit and Dominican middle class, upper class kids talked about their adversities in life and dealing with their parents and their car broke down, or they had a coach, they couldn't make a sports team. And then they had an open mic for our freshmen to come up. And the freshmen came up, and the first one talked about seeing a murder outside of his door in the last month. Another child came up and talked about how his mother, the police had been at their house, and his mother had been taken away in handcuffs because of drug addiction. Another one talked about losing their brother to gangs. And this is the kind of kids that we're servicing at Cristo Rey. And this is the kind of kids that are coming from adversity, going to college, using education to better themselves and better their places in life. So I found a passion for my life, and I've worked hard and watched others succeed through hard work. I encourage each of you to look to the Pope as an example of living humbly and dedicating your time to helping the poor. Our church does a fantastic job in living Christ's message to reach out and assist the poor. Your Thanksgiving drive is one way that you as students can give a hand out to the poor. Let me suggest you also look for ways to give a hand up to the poor so that they have dignity as well as assistance. Thank you for your time today, and may you have peace, love, and happiness in your life, and God bless Jesuit High School.